This is, if you care, this is how I recommend transitioning from a carnivore diet to eating plants again. This is basically what I did, and it follows like a GAPS approach, but not necessarily GAPS progression, because Dr. Natasha's progression didn't really make sense to me. I tried her progression. I went way too fast, but even so, I don't think you should be eating nuts before you're eating grilled meats. Doesn't make sense to me, or sauerkraut. So this is, I think this is probably more how people would have to transition. So you're starting off at carnivore. You're just eating all ruminants, grass-fed, doing a lot of boiled raw stuff, eating lots of organs, tallow, broth-based, and high-quality mineral salt. Do that for 1 to 3 months, I would think, depending on how damaged you are. And then add some goat kefir, raw goat kefir. Got to be raw, got to be grass-fed, got to be non-cow. So you could do sheep too, but sheep's just harder to find, and it's more expensive. Goat's more practical. But if you can get some sheep milk, that's great. I felt a lot better once I added raw goat kefir to the boiled stuff. I was just doing boiled. I wasn't doing much raw, and that was a mistake. But if you're doing raw, you're probably feeling a lot better. And if you're just doing boiled only, you'll be B12 deficient if you're only doing boiled meats. That's a problem. You'll be low energy. I felt like much more energized once I got the raw goat kefir, which doesn't have much B12 in it, but at least like the energy of it, the raw food, I felt it. It energized me. I could feel the energy being transferred to and used by me. If that makes any sense, probably doesn't. And then I would try to add some like plant food, especially if you're getting some insomnia symptoms. Try some boiled onions first, and then do boiled carrots. Onions, I think, are better. Try those first. You can do them at both at the same time, but if you're wary about starchiness in carrots, then just do the onions. They're like, do a little bit of carrot along with the onions. Kind of be careful with the carrot because of the starchiness. And then you can add some like other meat or animal products like egg yolks. Got to separate the white. Don't consume the whites. The whites are a problem. Just the yolks. And then cod liver oil. I think I added that at some point around the egg yolks. And then you'd probably start doing some cast iron grilled meats, which would be nice variety. Steaks and burgers. And you should be pretty satiated on that. Like I felt like I could just do that forever. But I still had some digestion issues, and I added, until I added beet kvass, then things started really flowing again. It was just like alternating diarrhea and constipation for the first 3 boxes, and beet kvass really smoothed things out. If you had to know, might be too much information. And I did that for a while, so I added garlic at the same time I added beet kvass. Garlic I don't think is that important, but maybe for some flavor, still put a little bit of garlic. I don't overdo it on the garlic. Garlic can give me a lot of gas, which I think is a bad sign. So I do a little bit of garlic in those boiled, in those soups. You got to boil your plant matter. Boiled is most digestible. That's why it says boiled onions and carrots. Can't be roasting them. Can't eat them raw. Beet kvass will be the first like non-boiled plant matter you encounter, and you're not eating anything fibrous. It's just the liquid. You got to throw the beets away and make the beet kvass. Liquid only. So getting you used to some plant matter, getting you prepared for sauerkraut, which comes later. For me, it was a year later. After I added the beet kvass, more than a year later, I added sauerkraut. A few months after the beet kvass, I added some other boiled vegetables, Brussels sprouts and cabbage, basically cabbage. I added some cabbage, some green stuff. I went like a year and a half without eating anything green, and I felt fine. And I had some green stuff, and I felt fine still. Every time I added something, I felt as good or maybe just like marginally better. First 2 phases, I felt a lot better. From when I added the raw goat kefir, I felt a lot better. But every other phase, I felt a little bit better, I think. Definitely not worse. So I think that's a good sign. As opposed to when I did Dr. Natasha's progression, then I definitely felt worse as I added new stuff. And you can also add some barbecued meats at some point, maybe sooner than the other boiled vegetables. I forget, maybe a year, and I added barbecue meats. Meats are always digestible compared to plants, so I wouldn't be too cautious with meat. Oysters, that's a shellfish, should probably be a little careful with that. I added that 2 years in, and sauerkraut, I just started eating that. That's another 2 years in. So a year after beet kvass, I started eating sauerkraut, which is actual like raw vegetable matter, but it's highly broken down. Like I fermented it for 4 weeks, which I guess isn't that much, but at least do 4 weeks. Get to break down the fiber in the raw vegetable matter. And we'll see what I do next. But yeah, in this phase, this last phase, you're kind of like, I guess, avoiding starchy stuff, but like new foods are coming up. They're coming up more frequently. You can branch out more and more as you get further along. Anyway, hope that was helpful for like the 10 people who will watch this video. And or doing gaps or something, and think that I'm a reputable source. I kind of am. I've been doing this for 2 years. I wish more people will watch, because I do have a lot of info to give. If you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, I've got a lot of experience doing this. So that is it. Hope you enjoyed the free video.